Welcome to the Miracles of Music with Mariah Mann. If you are interested in learning how music can minister to your soul, then you have come to the right place. Here, I will share a wide collection of stories for you to connect with. I will give you insights on new discoveries in this field, and you will also be able to listen to some specifically recorded songs created by me to help bring about certain thoughts and emotions within yourself. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the miracles of music I have to share with you today. Hello! Welcome to the 4th episode of this podcast series. You guys won't believe it, but I found another incredible musician to work with for this project. His name is Robbie Donarski, and oh my gosh, it just blew me away when we were working on this project. He's so knowledgeable and so passionate about music. I was just thinking to myself, like, why didn't we do this earlier, I don't know, this just fit really well, and I'm so excited to share this with you. So in the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to be asking Robbie some questions so that you guys can get to know him a little bit better. He's a student here at Graceland, and he's involved in just about every music ensemble possible. It's incredible. So you guys are going to be able to hear some information from him, and then he's also going to be taking us into both the jazz and the classical worlds of music. So I'm going to go ahead and get this podcast started. We're going to start out with the interview questions and go from there. All right, we are here with Robbie Donarski today. This is a really exciting experience for everyone. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a junior here at Graceland. I'm a music major, and I think what's really interesting about me and the way that I learned music is that I kind of grew up in this world where I was playing jazz music and where it's all kind of audio or all kind of like listening, all kind of collaborative with other people. There's not really a form, it's more of just kind of free music on its own. And I was doing all that stuff. At the same time, I was also learning music in the classical sense, where I was like in band class in wind ensemble, and we'd have sheet music, you'd have to read the music exactly as it is, and you're with a section that's all kind of doing the same thing, so there's not really a lot of room for creative differences, I guess, but it's really more important that you're all working as a unit, and how do you actually match people's tone and work as part of a bigger team in that sense. And I think what's really interesting is I've met a lot of musicians in my life who have been either one or the other and have an extremely hard time at the opposite. Mm-hmm. So I've met like a lot of, I call them jazz guys, where they're very musical, they have a really good sense of melody, really good sense of pitch and tone and everything, but they don't really understand the theory or any of the kind of the math behind what they're doing. And then on the reverse side of that, I've also seen a lot of, I call them classical people, where they've kind of grown up in that sense where I can only play what's written on the page, and if it's not written there, I can't play it. Mm-hmm. And there are definitely a few people, you being one of them, Mariah, who are very good at doing both, and it's really, really fun to meet those people, because I think what music really does is it stimulates so many parts of your brain, and when you can be able to live in the jazz world and the classical world, as I call it, you really stimulate your entire brain at that point, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah. So is there one world or the other that you feel more comfortable in, or that you like more than the other?
It's like deciding to choose between a favorite child. Like they both are really, really fun, and they both have things that are really fun about them. When you're in the classical world, you can do really, really complex things, and you can, have really technical passages, and you have this kind of sense of a team more where you're all working towards a common goal, and you're all doing kind of similar things, and you create something that's really, really beautiful. I think there's a lot more beautiful music that comes out of the classical world than more of the jazz world. But that being said, the jazz world is so much fun. Yeah. You just have kind of this creative freedom where you can really kind of do anything. Mm-hmm. And what the jazz world is it's just kind of, you have this basic outline, and you have to meet 2 or 3 requirements, but really beyond those little things, you can really do whatever you want. And it's all the fine details that I like about jazz music that you can just add in whatever you want.
Yeah. That's really cool. So you grew up in both of these different mindsets, right?
Yeah, so can I
Did you
explain?
start one before the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 5th grade, I started playing trumpet,
Mm-hmm.
and in classic, band class with, we had like 100 people in our 5th grade band class. It was really fun. And I played that all through middle school, and then freshman year of high school, I switched into kind of like the low brass instruments, and I was still kind of in that classical world. And I think freshman year of high school is really when music started to become a huge part of my life. Because freshman year, I switched from trumpet to baritone, but I also started learning how to play bass at that time. And that was when I started playing in the jazz band. Even the jazz band was still kind of the classical world, because you still had sheet music in front of you, you still had people in a section that were playing with you. It wasn't as free just yet. When it really hit me was freshman year, like in the springtime, and I'd only been playing bass for maybe 6 or 7 months at that point. The band director asked me to play in their choir cabaret, which is like, it's kind of this choir concert where they have 4 or 5 songs that the entire choir will do, but then they have like 15 or 20 solos that will play, and they're all like kind of 70s. Like there's a lot of Adele. There was a couple of like Doobie Brothers, a lot of like really kind of funky, kind of modern stuff. And they would just give you a piano sheet, and it was really your job to just make something from a piano line and from that just kind of basic outline. And that was really my first time ever doing that. And they basically said, just go and just make it happen. And we had like 5 days to put like 20 songs together. And that was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. How can you play music and just out of nowhere, it's not written down anywhere, and just make stuff up and have it sound somewhat decent? And then, so throughout my years, I kind of began living in that jazz bass world, bass being one of my instruments, and really euphonium being my main classical instrument. Beyond that, I also play, I've kind of experimented with drum set and piano and trombone and other brass instruments, but really my main two that are my bread and butter are electric bass for being in the jazz world and euphonium for being in the classical world. Mm-hmm. But even beyond that, like this year especially, I've gotten into doing classical electric bass stuff and jazz euphonium stuff. So now I'm really, really spreading myself out and really experimenting in different things. And it's really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for telling us about that. All right, in this next section here, Robbie's going to bring out his electric bass, and he's going to start playing a bass line for us. And this is going to bring us into the jazz world a little bit more. He's actually going to invite me to play with him, which is interesting because I don't do a lot of jazz. It's not my primary world that I involve myself in. So I hope you get a kick out of this, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so Mariah, I think I'd like to do some kind of cool thing with you here. This will kind of be, I guess, in the jazz world, which you said you've done a little bit with, but you're not as comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is maybe I'll set up like just a little like kind of funky bass line thing, maybe kind of have some fun with that, and then I'll give you a little cue to come in and kind of just make up your own thing and just make a melody out of nothing. Perfect. And then maybe I'll do a little something at the end, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to finish it.
Take it away.
Let's do it. saxophone. I like the tone, like the different tones that we had. Where I feel like I was kind of more bouncy, and I have this kind of that little bite, and then you were super smooth on it.
Yeah.
It was really nice. It was a really nice contrast. I like that.
I agree. There was really great contrast in that piece. Every time I play with Robbie, I am just amazed and astounded of how much fun we have. Every Sunday here at Graceland, he and I both get to play with the Afterglow Band in Cheville Chapel, which is a great experience, but I don't get to experience very much like the jazz side of things, because that's not really the genre of music that we play at those services. So when I get the opportunity to play just one-on-one with Robbie, it's amazing how much fun I have, even though it's nothing that I ever do normally. It's just a really, really great experience. So this next part of the episode, we're going to leave the jazz side of things and we're going to enter into the classical world. Robbie's going to bring out his euphonium, and he's actually going to come up with something on the spot, which is pretty cool. I think he just does this all the time, and it's amazing. So go ahead and give this a listen. I'm sure you're going to love it.
So for this next part, I might actually pull the euphonium out here, and I've just in playing and just kind of like messing around with stuff, I found there are these five notes, this little super small, super simple melodic phrase that's so pretty. I'm going to play it. Just those, this room is great. But just those five notes, they're super pretty, and like the ability to take something just nice and simple, like it's just five simple notes, and be able to actually create a melody around that, and kind of just play around with that idea, and then how can you do that differently, but also in the same way. And I think that's what's really, really fun about music. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with something.
That was amazing.
See, baritone, like, so they're like, when I feel like really stressed out, like I need to just get rid of stuff, like baritone is my go-to.
Gotcha.
Like I remember being in just like super stressful situations, and I went into the Shaw at like 2 a.m. and snuck into Carroll Hall, and I screamed through this instrument, and like I felt so amazing coming out of it.
That's so cool.
There was actually one day I was practicing just in Carroll Hall, and like I just like, you know, some technique stuff. I was just doing stuff. My mom called me and she's like, "Oh hey, I've got really bad news. Are you okay with it? Your uncle just passed away. He was out hunting and he got in a hunting accident and he passed away this weekend." And like I remember closing my technique book, putting it on the floor, and I just did that for like an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh.
And I got out of there and I was like, I feel fine. Like I'm totally okay with this. And like being able to just let everything out of here, man, it's a powerful tool.
That's incredible. Robbie just shared an amazing testimony of how he was able to use music and the instruments that he knows really well to release negative emotions and to almost just cope with situations that are really hard to deal with otherwise. This is exactly what I talked about in the last episode, so this is really cool to see that I'm not the only one that does this. There are other musicians that find peace and find calmness in making music to help release certain thoughts and emotions. So that's really awesome. I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing about the jazz side of things and the classical side of things from Robbie's perspective. He is an expert on this topic, so if you ever have any questions, I'm sure you can just talk to him and he will be delighted to have a conversation with you about it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode and for all the episodes actually. I'm planning on hopefully doing more of these podcasts in the future, although I don't have any immediate plans. So if you are a musician or if you know of any musicians that might be interested in collaborating or in jamming and just talking about music or playing music, I would be absolutely happy to create a 5th or a 6th or a 7th podcast. So thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day.